What's up everyone, Joe Gray here today to talk about cable attachments for back day. My personal lifting has equal parts focused powerlifter and bodybuilder. I not only want to chase down bigger and badder lifts on the platform, I also want to look the part. And nothing builds the big three and tells everyone you lift like a big back. Because of that, back day cable attachments take up a significant amount of real estate on my wall control board, and I do a huge amount of my back accessory work with cable attachments. And for nearly a decade, I have been chasing down the best of the best cable attachments for back day. Today, I'm going to share what I've learned with all of you, which includes my favorite cable attachments as well as a handful that I think you should consider and might end up on your wall depending on what kind of cable attachment owner you plan to be. If you didn't know, this video is part of a series where we started off with the 5 cable attachments I believe you should add to your home gym, and then we have dug deep into each individual body part where I've shared my favorite cable attachments as well as tips and tricks on how to get the most out of each of those so you can chase down the biggest and baddest gains possible. If that sounds like something you would be interested in, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next video. Some quick housekeeping items for you. Some of these cable attachments I bought myself, others were sent to me for free. Some I have a discount code or affiliate link, and others I have nothing at all. To keep things simple, I'm simply going to say that at the end of this video, if you want to pick up anything I mentioned today, there will be links in the description for you to do so. Using those links will help me do what I do, potentially with a kickback or simply letting the companies know I sent you. Either way, I appreciate you using those links. They cost you nothing. Let's get into some cable attachments. All right, we're gonna start off this discussion with what I believe to be the absolute reigning champ best cable attachments for back day without any questions, and that is the mag grips. If you've got all the information you need on mag grips over the years of me touting their wonderfulness, feel free to use the chapters below to skip ahead as you see fit. For the rest of us, let's take a ride into the maximum advantage grips. The vast majority of people who use mag grips find right out the gate that they have more weight for more reps with a better connection into their back and even a better range of motion. All those together leads to a much better chance at producing hypertrophy in the back. So it is a win in every category for the mags compared to your typical lat bar for rows, pull downs, you name it. Mag grips currently come in close and medium grip handles, each with a pronated, supinated, and neutral option, as well as a 3/4 grip and a wide option. And there's one other that we'll talk about in a second, but that gives us a total of 8 options in their standard lineup. Because each grip offers something slightly different, let's dig into what kind of all those pieces mean. First, let's take a look at the difference between supinated, pronated, and neutral. So that refers to the orientation of your hands. Supinated being that your palms are facing up or towards you, much similar to like doing a chin-up on a pull-up bar. The hands up supinated position forces the elbows to track closer to the body. The closer the elbows are, the more bias you put on the lats, meaning that the supinated handle is typically a better lat builder than the others. Pronated would be the opposite, similar to what you would have in a normal pull-up. This is going to force your elbows to flare a bit, which means we're going to put more bias on the upper back and the rest of the back musculature as opposed to the lats. The neutral, falling somewhere in between, is going to put your elbows at almost a 45-degree angle as opposed to flared or tight to the body. And this is going to give us a somewhat more normal or evenly spread development of the back. For the different widths, we've got the close grip, which we find to be a very good pull down option, but not necessarily seated row option. This is largely because you lose a lot of the range of motion aspects on the seated rows as opposed to the pull downs. Don't run into that problem. The medium grips are fantastic for both options. In fact, we even use the medium grips for things like T-bar rows on our landmine. So the medium grips are the go-to option in our space. And the 3/4 and the wide are options for typically me that feel a little bit more like the traditional lat pull down experience, but with the benefits of the paddle handle. The 3/4 grip typically meaning to be for somewhat more average size athletes, and the wide being for the larger athlete. Which takes me to the number one question I get asked about mag grips that I've seen all over the internet, which is which one should I buy first? I have answered this question about a half a dozen different ways in my comprehensive guide to the mag grips on my website. That is linked in the description today. I'm going to push you there if you are actually considering buying mag grips, so that way you can walk through the various details and questions that I pose in there to help you choose the right path forward, as opposed to rehashing all of that in today's video. The second question I get, especially lately since I have all of the mag grips now, is how do I program them all in my workouts? I'm currently running Juggernaut AI, which has me doing a back accessory movement on 2 different days of the week. One of those days I tend to do a pull down variation, and the other I tend to do a rowing variation. For the pull down option, what I've been doing lately is 4 working sets, where the first one starts off with the wide, the second one uses the 3/4, the third one uses the medium neutral, and the fourth and final set uses the close supinate. The idea is that I am kind of doing a lot of different variation within that one kind of complex workout. The finishing with the close supinate means I go from a more pronated with the wide to a supinated when I get to the close, which puts the most stress on the lats when they are the most tired, which hopefully leads to the most amount of hypertrophy possible. Now, obviously you could just use one handle and do 4 sets, but I have all 4, so I am using all 4 in that variation. For the horizontal row option, my 2 go-tos typically are a seated row with the mag medium supinate. This is honestly my favorite back accessory movement out of, I think, anything I do. And it is made even better by using the Vulture 1 because I can add the inverse change function and make that match the strength curve of the back, so it is heavier in the stretch position and lighter in the fully contracted. I then typically use the mag pronate attached to a landmine setup for some T-bar row options. If that's something you're interested in, I again cover all of that in the comprehensive guide in terms of what you need to be able to make that happen. Between the pull down variation of those 4 different handles, the seated row, and the T-bar, I'm now up to 6 of the handles, which includes the wide, 3/4, all 3 of the mediums, and the close supinate. The only 2 that don't get included in those routines there are the close neutral and close pronate. It's not that they are fundamentally bad cable attachments, it's just that there's only so many options you can do, and when ranking them, those fall down at the bottom of the list. All right, let's jump into some tips and tricks for getting the most out of your mag grips. First is to make sure that you set your hands up like they do on the logo itself. The thumb needs to be on the angled piece and your hand wrapped around the paddle itself. Make sure you get that hand over the top of the paddle, otherwise you're back to leveraging your fingers to hold on to the grip. Speaking of your fingers, number 2 is to make sure you are pulling with your last 2 fingers, the pinky and the ring finger. It's very common in pulling movements, especially as the sets get more difficult, for the bar to end up in your pointer and middle finger. If you've ever held on to a slipping deadlift, you've probably found out that those tend to be the last 2 fingers to hold on. The problem here is that your pinky and your ring finger actually have some connective tissues tied into your tricep, which feeds into your lats. So if you're trying to build the biggest back you can, you really need to make sure that those 2 are part of the equation. When we talk about mag grips, while we remove the grip from the equation, it does not mean that we get to completely remove the hand's job in, I just said hand job. we cannot ignore our hand's role in connecting to that handle and translating into the rest of our body. With the mags compared to a traditional lap bar, you don't have to worry about the straps doing all the work for you. Instead, your hands are still fully engaged and you have the ability to leverage that connection between the pinky and the ring finger that ties back into your back. The pinky and ring finger is actually a cue that comes from swimming as well. The best swimmers in the world focus on pulling with those two fingers to engage the triceps and the lats for a stronger pull. And the last piece is, if you aren't already doing it, making sure you're getting a full range of motion. Typically, when I start, I am looking for an almost exaggerated stretch by letting myself round over slightly in the upper back and then pulling all the way back into the end range using your back. If you focus on putting your hands in the right place, pulling with that pinky and ring finger, getting a stretch and full contraction in the back, I can almost guarantee the mag grips are going to be a huge winner for you for your back day. On top of the 8 kind of standard offerings from MAG, they recently released their newest piece, which is the palm press. This opens up some tricep exercises, which we'll talk about in another video, but also adds a straight arm pull down variation to back day. The palm press is good in its own right. It opens up some unique exercise options, but it isn't the same life-altering, perspective-changing cable attachment that I have with the original Max. Again, good piece, but something that I think you have to spend a little bit more time thinking about for your own needs and own purposes and programming as to whether it belongs in your list or not. The original mags only come with a couple of knocks that I have for them. First is that the carabiner hole is fairly small. They are not wide enough to accept some of the larger, more robust, more high quality carabiners on the market. The only other knock I have against my mags is the customer experience piece. I mentioned this in the original write-up I did for them, is that their website has not been updated, it seems like, ever. The website has no real information around which handle you should choose or which handles do what exercise better. They don't have information around best sellers or literally anything. If you click on the products, it's just the product description and nothing else. You have a really hard time if you are going to their site for the first time or someone has said, hey, check these out, going there and trying to figure out what should you buy. That might be a good thing for me because then you end up on my website watching these videos, etc. But for everybody else who tries to go to their page and make an informed decision, it's really hard to do so. To date, the MAG team does not offer any affiliate links or discount codes. They do not run any promotional sales. They also don't do really any kind of ads or anything like that. In fact, all the articles, the videos, even the promotional pieces I did for the palm press, taking pictures and making videos for them, that was all just because I enjoy their products. So the Mag Grip team is simply focused on producing some of the best American-made cable attachments on the planet and kind of letting word of mouth and personal experience take over for the rest. All right, number 2 is another paddle handle design, but this one comes from Prime Fitness by means of their RO-T8 handles. These are like if you took a mag grip, broke them in half, and gave you the ability to, you guessed it, rotate. Today we are focusing on the Prime Fitness RO-T8 handles in terms of their single handle options as opposed to their 3-in-1 or 4-in-1 cable attachments. Those are quality attachments in their own right, though I have done some deep dives on comparing them to the mag grips and why I believe the mags are superior in a number of ways. So today we're going to focus only on those individual handles as a part of our best back day cable attachment discussion. If you aren't familiar with Prime Fitness, they make some of the highest quality American-made gym equipment on the planet. From their machines to racks to cable attachments to bars, even dumbbell racks, almost everything comes with a very unique twist, as well as the opportunity for custom colors and all kinds of cool stuff. What stands out to me with Prime Fitness amongst everything else, though, is actually their work with N1 Education and Coach Kaz, focusing on building products that actually have some science behind them in terms of hypertrophy and building muscle. So when they make a machine or a cable system or a cable attachment of some kind, they have done their research in terms of biomechanics and how the body actually builds muscle and strength, and they've put that into the design of said equipment. The Prime Fitness Rotates have a very similar paddle design as the Mags, which means we get the benefits of the better grip, the more weight for more reps, and the better mind-muscle connection into the back. But the ability to rotate your hands throughout the movement creates some unique advantages over the Mags in certain exercises. The most common use of the rotate handles that you will typically see online is people connecting them to something like a Darko Longi bar. That way you can come up with a number of custom width options, as well as create your own supination or pronation creation as you see fit. This is not my favorite use, or even one that I basically ever do in my gym. I would prefer a locked in feeling of the Mags. The more locked in, the more stable, the more tension I can apply to the target muscles. That is my preferred method, but some people really do honestly love this option, so it's something I like to mention. Now, my go-to, which is a regular inclusion in my program as well as my wife's, is a single arm pull down variation that Coach Kaz specifically calls the pull arounds. So let's dig into the kind of tips and tricks on this one. I start off by getting my bench situated correctly. Typically this is a bit out from underneath the handles themselves to get a better stretch and what feels like a better pull for my structure. I take a seat and sit down on the bench, which is in a fully upright position, grab one handle in one hand and use the other hand to wrap around the bench. At the same time, I plant my foot firmly into the bench brace to give myself as much stability as I can. I start the pull in that same kind of exaggerated stretch position that we mentioned before, and then focus on pulling with the pinky as we pull the cable attachment down. Now where this gets unique is that instead of pulling only down, we also try and rotate that shoulder blade back and almost around the back of the spine. Now the key here is to not actually rotate your upper body, but simply try and pull that upper back musculature on the working side over a back and around the back of the spine. If you perform these correctly, you should feel a very gnarly contraction in the entire upper back, including the lats. As much as I love my mag grips for pull downs, this honestly might be my favorite pull down variation that I do in my gym. The Prime Rotate handles can be used for a number of other movements in your gym. You can do some chest supported rows with them. You can hook them up to a landmine bar, either individually or again with a Darko Longi for some T-bar row variations. You could even hook them up to your pull-up bar and do different variations there. But the pull around variation is definitely my go-to use for these for my own back day. All right, in my gym, the mag grips and the Prime Rotates make up the vast majority of the back work in our programs, whether it's for me, my wife, or my daughter. But I do think there are some other cable attachments for back day that you might want to check out. First up is the Mutant Metals Arc. This is a piece that utilizes the handles from the Ultimate Dip attachment or the Mutant Metals UDA. The Arc comes in a few different angle options. It comes in custom color options as well. And one big note that Chris made sure to do is it comes with the ability to be used with a dual pulley or single pulley right out the gate. No adapter necessary. Nice job, Chris. Next up is the Tsunami Lat Bar. Now this is similar to the Tsunami Bar or Band Bell Bar, except for it's a cable attachment. I've seen a number of powerlifting coaches actually program this for their athletes because that bending the bar concept is something that you can take directly into the bench press and could potentially be used as a teaching tool beyond just the development of the back. Another company that I have almost bought cable attachments from a number of times is RO-T8s. They make a couple of pieces like their lat slapper that I'm not entirely positive how it would feel, but it is something that has called out to me a couple of times, and I've almost pressed the buy button and probably will at some point. They will get the best of me. Their pieces are aesthetically very well done, come in custom color options, and all around are very unique compared to a lot of the other things you see on the market. Depending on what you want out of your cable attachments, there are a lot of other options to check out. Mike Bartos Power Center makes some very unique ones. American Barbell has some pretty well done close grip attachments. So does Bare Steel Equipment. You can get some unique curved multiple grip options from Cleva Built or from Black Widow Training Gear. Ironmaster even makes one that I think they call the Ultimate Attachment Handle. There's a lot of different options out there. I gravitate towards the mags and the Prime RO-T8, but I like to shine the light on some unique and different options where I can. And that, my friends, is the deep dive on cable attachments for back day. What do you think? Did you learn about some new cable attachments? You can pick up a set of mags or the Prime RO-T8s or one of the other kind of unique ones I talked about. Or maybe you knew all about all those already. Did you pick up a training tip, something that might help you get a little bit more out of your workouts? Let me know in the description below what you think and what your plans are. Remember, in the description today, we've got details on the rest of the videos in this series. I've got the Mag Grip Comprehensive Guide for you, as well as links to any of the stuff I talked about today, so you can pick that up for your own home gym. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. If you want to see more, hit that subscribe button, and I'll be back with more home gym awesomeness for all of you very soon. Peace.